Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back for another OPTC video, and in today's video we're taking a look at all of the legends and the PvP rare recruits and putting them on a bit of a tier list for you guys right as championship begins, so you guys can get an understanding of what characters work best for each specific team. Now, this might be a bit of a long video, and obviously I'm not exactly the most PvP wizard, so please let me know in the comment section below if you guys notice anything that I miss out or if I gloss over anything at all. Like I said, I play a lot of PvP and I have all these characters, but like I'm always going to miss some stuff. So, like I said, if you guys know a little bit more than I, let me know in the comment section below. And while you're down there, don't forget to belt the like button. If you're new to the channel, you haven't done so already, hit that big red subscribe button. It's free, you can change my lighting, do all that good stuff. If you want to be an extra Chad, hit the join button to support your boy even more. Now, before we dive into the video, I do want to give a bit of a understanding of the tier list. Now, this is sort of the first time I'm doing like a massive full legend and full rare recruit PvP tier list, and I do want to start by saying this tier list is heavily weighted around attacking teams. We're not really focusing too much on defending. I will take defending into account, but obviously defending kind of works better with like bait options, depending on what the rules are and all that sort of stuff comes into play. So that is going to hold a little bit lower standards than what the attacking variation or the attacking teams will. Now, obviously, strength beats dex, dex beats quick, quick beats strength, stereotypically, and then science interchangeable, and that is going to heavily impact the tier list as well. Stuff like dex being like absolutely busted, int being absolutely busted, are going to make some of these characters a little bit higher. However, the top tier is basically going to be like the meta team for said colors or classes, or if the character is just so good across the board. I will take Grand Party into consideration as well. Obviously, Grand Party being a once a month thing now means that you need a lot of characters for your box. Otherwise, you can always run like the 1-1-1 strat or the 1-5-1, all that fun stuff. But I will be taking Grand Party into account just a little bit. But as I mentioned, this tier list is heavily built around attacking options over defensive options. So if a character is good defensively, finds their way onto your attacking team, that's a different story, but not really for like your bait defending teams. Hopefully that makes sense. There's a lot to talk about today, so let's dive in. Alright, so I didn't want to do too many tiers, but as you guys can see here, I do have 5 tiers for the tier list. Now, obviously, like, this Dookie tier is pretty much going to hold majority of the characters that don't really see play in Rumble at all, so that is actually going to fill up a lot of the characters. So, to start off, like, a whole bunch of these legends are pretty Dookie in Rumble. Like, they're not going to see too much play. Brook, Law, Lucci, even on the shooter team, Lucci, like, this Lucci, definitely not. I'm just going to try and sift through and get rid of some characters before we actually dive into the crux of the actual tier list. So, Halloween Ace, big no. As for, like, Sabo, no. Boa, no. V1 Snake, Tankman, no. Rayleigh, no. Lucci. What else we got here? Judge, Sengoku, Hody. All of these particular characters are just, like, big old no-nos in Rumble. Like, even, like, Black Marine's okay on a power team, actually. Like, Shanks nowadays, no. Luffy, Ace, Neg. Barto, Law, Crocodile, V1 Law. Like, all of these characters, Buggy, this Luffy's a big no-no. Cat, Dog, like all of these characters, Butter Cavendish, Boa, V1 Snake Man, Jumanji, Hakuba, Big Mom, oh, that food is actually good. Luffy, Law, like all of these characters, if you have them, like these guys are not good in Rumble. Like they're not good in Rumble at all. So if you are a newer player and you're like, oh, but Stump, like I don't know where you put this. This kind of does have an actual GP. But honestly, I still think he's dookie. Like, I tried him out. He kind of sucky. So yeah, if you're looking at this tier list and you're like, hey, yo, Stump, I didn't see where you put Sobermarks. Hey, yo, Stump, I didn't see where you put V1 Katakuri or Whitebeard Marco. Enel, Brooke, where did you put all of these characters? Where did they go? Like, I didn't see them get put on a tier list. This character is 6-star character. She shouldn't even be here. Where did they go? Well, they're in the Dookie tier because they suck. Like, that's the bottom line. So, I'm going to fast forward a little bit, and I'm going to get rid of all these characters here, and then I will see you in a second. Alright, so for those that are interested, as you guys can see here, let me just see if I can bring this up. It pretty much fits on the screen. As you can see, like, these characters here are all dookie. Like, these characters, you don't even want to bother maxing out their Rumble abilities. Don't worry about them at all. The only notable exceptions are maybe this Kaido, because he has the GP stats. This Akainu can be an option for a nuking potential off the bench. But with PvP rare recruits, like these characters never going to see play. Plus, like, this card has already been replaced, like, straight up. So, let's get into the crux of the tier list. Let's start it with Izo Kiku. Izo Kiku are amazing on a quick team. However, they have dropped off quite a bit. They are still solid in the meta, but they're not exactly in the quick meta, as quick-driven kind of rules the roost there. Frankie Tanky is a solid option, mainly for defending. Him and the Fire Tank Pirates are pretty much the only exceptions that I'll make for the solid option in terms of defense options. But for a free spirit team, definitely there. As for Yorogue can work on the int team, but is mainly used for when you guys are fighting side teams. If you're not versing side teams, you're probably not going to use him. As for X-Drake, I love running X-Drake on the strength team. I think he's a pretty good staple up there. Action binding Dex is very, very easy to do. And honestly, I do want to start by saying that strength is probably my weakest team building for Rumble. So strength kind of falls off a lot for me, but I will put up my meta sort of strength team for what I use for you guys, so you guys can have a bit of a look there. Also, something to note as well, if I put a character that has level limit break, for example, like Kuzan, or this Akainu, for example, also this Akainu is dookie, you're never going to use him. But let's presume we were talking about this Akainu. We are talking about them at level limit break plus max, though, so just note that as well. There he is, Kuzan. Kuzan at level limit break 5. And he's 6+, make him so good in Rumble. Like, he is a must on the side team alongside Enel nowadays. The two of them just absolutely shred together. And the fixed damage that Kuzan gets is so good. He's definitely a meta god for the side team. Luffy is the staple of the Dex team. Dex has so many powerful options, and you can run Dex in so many different ways. However, Luffy is pretty much on every single build. Luffy must be on your Dex team. It's not even an if, it's not a but. He must be on your Dex team if you're on Dex. If you have him and you're running Dex, he must be there. Like, it's not even a question. As for Kaido, I actually love running Kaido alongside this X-Drake. Stuff like Kid, Boa Sandersonia, the waifus. For me, they work really, really well. Honestly, I think that Kaido should be a meta god, but in Rumble, he's just not that good. Like, you need all the other strength units to make, striker strength units to make this guy absolutely amazing. But if you do have the full strength striker team, I do find that he is an absolute demon on that particular team. For me, I'm just going to put him in a solid meta because you can use him on a strength team, but you do want to try and have a lot of striker units sort of surrounding him as well. Ace Yamato, they're okay on the Free Spirit team. They're a great unit, but they have another unit that sort of outshines them for that sort of Free Spirity build. As for the waifus, they're pretty amazing. Honestly, they're pretty much a meta god on the strength team. They are very, very reliant on that stun ability. But like I said, I don't really run the strength team that often, or at all, really. But when I do, these three are pretty much always on it. So that's something to note for me, personally. But let me know if you guys run strength a little bit more, if you would put them this high. I find their stuns not that great, but the fact you can run, obviously, the Sandersonia sister with this, option, because of having Boa there, works exceptionally well. Smoothie, she is a great unit, pretty much used off the bench for most of the time on the if you are running her on a quick team. But if I'm honest, ever since I pulled Smoothie, I've never run her in PvP. I've never touched her in PvP. I know people have, and I know she's good, but I don't even know she'd fit that sort of meta solid build. As for Blackbeard, he is an absolute god on the int-driven team. On the int-driven team, Blackbeard's so good. The downside is he boosts Powerhouse, so you do want to try and have driven Powerhouse characters, but there are a lot of them in the build, and for me, I use this guy alongside something like PvP Fuji, Kid, Moria, Uta. They rock and they roll, and they do so much freaking damage, man. As for Black Maria, the Toby Ropo, these two Toby Ropo units, they're a solid option if you ever are running a Powerhouse team. But look, Powerhouse teams, they kind of suck. They're kind of dookie because the Powerhouse Fire variation is just so much better. As for the other Toby Ropo being Who's Who, he's a solid meta option. You can run him on a fighter team. You can run him on a Powerhouse team because the Powerhouse Fighter sort of coalition works so damn well. But on a strength team, if you are building an out fighter or Powerhouse base with stuff like Jack, he's a very, very good unit as well. He's got a great passive, got a great special, and he's a solid meta unit. As for Katakuri, he's another very solid meta unit. Really, really good option for powerhouse teams, mainly for fighter teams as well. I use him a lot, like a lot on my my fighter team, and if I am doing some powerhouse shenanigans, he is very, very good there as well. As for Hiyori, she's a solid option. Like, she's nothing crazy, but you can use her on the cerebral team. Honestly, I wouldn't really worry about her too much. As for this Uta, again, she's a solid option if you are running that sort of cerebral team, but the cerebral team is quite low in terms of how good it actually is. It can rock and roll with the free spirit comp, but I do think it is quite on the subpar end. So if you were going to argue anything, it might be the back end of sort of great unit. As for Chopper, he's a great unit for that cerebral team that we're just talking about. You can do some pretty cool stuff with cerebral quick now, and you can do cerebral int. Definitely an option, but obviously int driven is just better. As for running the cerebral team, I wouldn't recommend it. So honestly, I would probably put these guys at the top end of solid option. Have this sort of down here that way. As for Shiki is a solid meta unit. I don't know if I would put him at the top and the pinnacle. I don't know if he's a staple on the quick-driven team, but he is definitely a very, very good option for that particular team. At level limit break 5, he's an absolute demon. He also boosts int too, so you can slide him in with characters like Blackbeard and with characters like Kid and Top Musica, stuff like that as well. So it works really, really nicely. As for Shanks, he kind of sits on this solid option for the cerebral build. He's definitely a staple for that team, but that team is just kind of whatever. Ben Becken and Lucky Roo, they are a great unit for the shooter team. The shooter team has had a lot of prowess in defensive capabilities, and it has been absolutely rocking and rolling this season because Chopper is the character to be buffed. But at the moment, shooters just never were where they were for attacking prowess. So I feel like they're probably down here, and I feel like you could probably say that the cerebral team has the potential to be up here. As for Hiyori, I don't use her on my cerebral team, so I'm going to put her down here in solid option. As for Luffy is a great unit for the Psy team. I don't really use him too much. He's a very good defensive unit, but as for offense, he's just not that great. Sop are amazing on the shooter team. Basically, completely rule out the PvP rare recruit Usopp, if I'm completely honest, because these guys halve stats. Any character that can halve stats is so valuable for your team, and you really want to try and find a spot for them on the build. This Sabo, he's dookie, you don't have to worry about him. Top Musica is an absolute meta god. Whether you're running int powerhouse or int driven, you have to bring Top Musica. She's so powerful, probably one of the best PvP characters in the entire game, up there with Luffy. If you're running an int based team, you're running it driven powerhouse 99% of the time, and if you are running int, you're pretty much running Uta. It's absolutely no ifs or buts. As for Hina, she's a solid option for that cerebral team, but that cerebral team is kind of, like I said, just needs a lot. This Blackbeard, he is a pretty great unit for the int-driven team. Especially at level limit break 5, he can do bits, but he's just not even close to that meta option. But he's an option if you guys are missing some of these big names up here, mainly this Blackbeard. As for Corazon and Law, they can be used on a cerebral team. They're a solid option, but not a character that I would go for. K-Dad is a meta god for the slasher team. If you're running slashers, you pretty much want to have K-Dad there. Alongside Whitebeard and Roger and Odin, you can do some really, really cool stuff. The thing is, though, slashers need Whitebeard Roger to work, and if you don't have Whitebeard Roger, this guy is not going to be that great. But slashers, in my opinion, are definitely in the top 5 best teams. I think they sort of shine out the strength team, where you have your color metas being int-driven, Dex, Psy, or probably quick-driven actually, Psy, and then I think slashers are probably 5th. So for that reason, I'm going to put K-Dad up here in the meta gods. Orochi, he's a great unit. Just like Smoothie, he is very, very good on that int, not that int, or the int-driven / quick-driven / just if you mix the two together. He definitely can be used, but there's sort of just better options there. Moving on to Zoro, he is he's actually, I don't know if I'd say he's a meta solid for the slasher team, but he's definitely a great replacement for K-Dad if you don't have K-Dad. I find K-Dad just just infinitely better, but Zoro is still very, very good. Going through defense makes him very, very valuable. He does a lot of damage. Kid is a solid meta unit for the Dex build. I normally use Kid on my Dex team, especially when I'm talking about stuff like Grand Party and whatnot, because he works amazingly under Whitebeard and Roger. However, I think with Dex, like, I don't know if you would really run Kid all the time. For me, I do. Like, I've loved Kid even before he's 6+ in his level limit break. I thought he was always very, very good. Great defensive option, great damage as well, which is always nice to see. Next, we have the Odion Olin. She's an okay unit. I don't know if I would say that she's anything too amazing, but I think she's a great unit for that int-driven team that we keep talking about. I don't think that she would find her way into that team over some other big moms, though. But you definitely can use her. I think she's a powerhouse builder build. So if you want to build that int powerhouse team, you definitely can use her. As for Page 1 is just a solid option for strength. I don't like Page 1. I think he's quite bad, if I'm completely honest. But he's a PvP legend, so I think we have to give him some sort of credit here. And you definitely can run him on a strength team. But look, for me, he's just completely replaceable. And honestly, for me, he's just dookie. Like, he's just straight up. Honestly, I don't even care that he's a PvP legend. I'm gonna put him in dookie. Jinbei is he's a solid option. He's mainly built for fighter teams, but he's like that powerhouse fighter build that I keep talking about, sort of rocks around. He's a solid option. However, I think some other Jinbeis are just better, if I'm completely honest. I think he's a great unit defensively, but other than that, because he's so segregated to powerhouse, it makes him hard to use. This Boa, people love this Boa, but for me, she's just a solid option. If you're using this Boa, you want to have Santa Sonia on there somewhere, but for strength, she's just kind of whatever. Like, honestly, I just didn't like her. This Chopper has been actually really good for this shooter build. This core of a shooter team is defensively so sound. I would put it higher, but obviously shooters don't do damage, and it's like, as I said at the start, this tier list is built around sort of the attacking prowess, not the defending prowess. So I can't really say like, oh my god, they're amazing and everyone's going to run shooters as their attacking team. But as a defensive option, like, you can definitely run this as your core. And then you can use stuff like Kuzan here, Izo Kiku, they're also shooters. So you can do some really fun, funky stuff there. As for this Nami, I don't think this Nami is good at all. On Psy-Free Spirit, you have a lot of options, and she is another solid option for that team. But you just have a lot more solid options, like this Luffy, for example. So I think she's at the back end if you are looking for options for your Psy team. But if you are building for Psy, you want to build like Psy-Free Spirit with her for her to actually work at the full capabilities. As for Robin, Robin's pretty great. Like, she's a great unit for PvP. She's nothing too flash, but on the quick team, she definitely can see some play. I've been running her on quick Cerebral, which has been a lot of fun with stuff like Shanks, with a lot of stuff like this Shanks here, with stuff like Hina. You can use stuff like Law. You can do some pretty cool stuff with Robin. But on a regular quick team, she can do bits. But for me, like, I just don't love that quick Cerebral build. Speaking of quick Cerebrals, another really, really good option is obviously Uta. She's very similar to this particular Uta, but she kind of does like different stuff for quick units, I'm pretty sure. So she's an option, but like definitely not one that you would go for. But for quick Cerebral, she's definitely a shout. But she's nowhere near as good as having something like this Uta for a regular Cerebral team, in my opinion. As for Odin, he's basically a meta god for the slasher team. He's a must-bring, basically, alongside K-Dad. He does so much damage. Plus, you can do, like, a really fun sort of strength slasher team. So, there's definitely that option for you. But most of the strength slashers, for me, come underneath this sort of striker build that I normally like to rock. As for Carrot, she is a solid option for the slasher team as well. Nowadays, no one really runs her too much. But with level limit break, like, they could do some cool stuff with her. As for Ace, he's a great unit for the strength team. I still find Ace quite good. Mainly off the bench nowadays, but like, he's still a great unit. Akainu, though, is a meta god. Akainu is a must-bring on your quick teams. His HP cutting is so valuable, and if you verse strength, you literally just bring Akainu and you win. Like, it's just the bottom line. This Big Mom, she's a solid option as a nuker, but nowadays, like, there's just so many better options if you're looking for nuking capabilities. This Boa, honestly, she's dookie. Like, you're never going to run her. Cat is a meta god. Now, Cat Viper and Dogstorm are two very, very good units for the Dex team. However, Cat Viper is just infinitely better in Pyro Rumble. Dog doesn't really provide too much unless you're coming up against Quick. However, Cat obviously does too, but I do find there is a rare recruit Fortnite Dogstorm that you just put at your last bench option, so that way you get all the prowess of Cat Viper. But if you are versing quick, putting these two on the team works so well. Against every other team, though, you're probably not going to run Dogstorm, but you're pretty much always going to run Cat. So that's why Cat sort of finds his way into the meta god situation. I do want to make sure I keep this in some sort of order, you know. So something like this. But yeah, like I said, like Cat Viper, he's very, very good for that Dex team. Whitebeard is a solid option. You can run him on that sort of strikery strength build, as I mentioned, but there's just way better options nowadays, and you need him at level limit break 5 for that to sort of rock. As for V1 Shanks, he is another nuking capability for side teams. I wouldn't recommend it, but he's a solid option. V1 Kuzan, you can chuck him on that shooter team that I was talking about earlier. He does work very, very well with his action binding, and this Ace can be an option as well. But honestly, like, shooters have such like a primary core now that, like, if you don't have the options for shooters, just don't run it. But Ace is a character you can use if you want to be cheeky with that sort of shooter build. As for Kizaru, he is another character that you can easily slide onto this shooter build. However, for slashers, he is a meta god. Like, his cooldowns and his attack buff and the way he pops his specials off. At level limit break 5, this guy's a demon. Put him alongside Cracker, and like the slashers just go absolutely brazy. Next, we have Jinbei. Jinbei is a great unit for the fighter team, especially at level limit break 5, obviously. He works exceptionally well if you are running that fighter team, mainly for defensive options, but like he's definitely very, very powerful as he's a powerhouse character as well, and he's int, so you can do some fun stuff there. Tesoro is a meta god for the quick, driven team. He, at level limit break 5, this guy gives so much cool speed up and cooldown reduction. Plus he gives defense level 7, I'm pretty sure, on his special, and fixed damage at 3500. He's an absolute beast. Be very careful if you come up against a quick team with him on it, because he can do a lot of damage. Magellan, honestly, is pretty dookie nowadays, but can be run on the Dex team. Corazon is a solid option for Dex, but only when you're versing quick. He's basically designed to nerf quick so heavily that he's only really a solid option nowadays. Moving on to Frankie. Frankie is another option that goes alongside these shooters right here. He's very, very good with his level limit break, but again, just purely, I think he does like fighters, slashers, and stuff too, but like because he's a shooter, free spirit, I think, as his classes, he's built for the shooter team basically. So you can rock this core right here for the shooters. Let's just bring, oh, it's all gonna fall down, isn't it? What if we bring you down here? Yeah, so see here, like, if you see this team right here from Frankie down, this is a 5-man sort of defensive team. Does work very, very well, but obviously people jumped onto it very fast with the buffs that shooters did get provided with this season. That was a mouthful. Moving on to Zeph, he is an option for the shooter team, but look, like I said, just like Ace, like, if you don't have that core, like, I wouldn't bother with shooters at all. Dofi is a demon. He is a meta solid unit for multiple teams. You can use him on Driven, you can use him on Slasher, or you can just use him on Primary Int. He works exceptionally well in Grand Party because you have all these options as well. Very, very good unit. He has a level limit break as well, which makes him even stronger. He's so freaking good. Like, this Dofi is so very, very valuable. I wouldn't say he's a meta solid on the Slasher team, but he is definitely a option that you can use if you guys are lacking some of these other options for some defense. ESO is a great unit for the int-driven team. Not exactly a meta-defining unit, but just like this Blackbeard can do a lot of work for that team as well. Shirahoshi is a solid option for Sai. She did get a level limit break, but didn't make her that much more powerful. She does a lot of healing, and she does really, really good for Sai, especially defensive Sai. But I haven't used Shirahoshi in a long time. This Lucci, he can be used on shooters, but again, if you don't have that shooter team, I wouldn't bother. Pudding is a solid option for defending with int. Like I said, the int cerebral sort of situation can be done, but like I said, like, I don't know if I would do it too much, but like Pudding, Reiju, and what's her name? Pudding, Reiju, and Perona all do really, really well together as a really nice bait int defensive team. Shank's crew nowadays is probably just a great unit for the slasher team. He is a rainbow booster though, so you can put him pretty much anywhere you want, and he is a very, very good defensive character. This Rayleigh is honestly dookie. You're never going to use him. This Whitebeard, he's dookie as well. V3 Kuzan. V3 Kuzan once upon a time was really good, but like nowadays, no dice. Wait, is this Fuji? Yeah, no, this is V1 Fuji. This is Slasher Fuji. Let's get him out of here. Katakuri nowadays is a solid option for the int build. When he gets his level limit break and he's 6+, you bet your ass this man's going to go brazy, but for now, he's just a solid option. This Blackbeard shouldn't even be here because we put his 6+ on. Hawkins was good defensively, but nowadays doesn't see too much play. Garps and no. Rayleigh with his level limit break 5 and his rainbow capabilities can do a lot of work for the Cerebral team up here, as well as a nice Dex defensive free spirit build for Yamato in Grand Party. But he's obviously not like the be-all or end-all like he was when he first came out. Wano Law. Where do we put Wano Law? I honestly want to put Wano Law in Meta Gods. Now, Wano Law is very subjective to basically nerfing driven powerhouse units, but he's still very, very good on the team. He gives level 6 cooldown to Psy characters, which is so freaking valuable, but for my Psy team, I don't normally run him too much, and honestly, for that reason, I kind of want to put him in Meta Solids. Doesn't mean that he doesn't go on this team up here, but you basically slide him in when you are versing driven powerhouse builds and you are building a Psy team. Kind of like Dogstorm, right? Like, Dogstorm is very good for the Dex team, but like you only really run him when you're versing quick. Wano Law has that kind of same effect as what Dogstorm has for the Psy team. Very, very good, and if you want to argue he's here, I would definitely not argue against you and say that, yeah, like, he has so many uses because there's so many driven powerhouse characters running around. But for me, personally, I don't really use him that much anymore, as much as I used to. But if I do see driven powerhouse and I'm going up against Int or something like that, you bet your ass I will bring Wano Law. Like, it's not even a doubt about it. This Boa, she's dropped off so much, but I guess you could say she's a solid option for Psy-Free Spirit. This Jinbei nowadays, like, he's actually pretty good for fighter teams, but mainly for, obviously, like, Dex, Strength, and Psy builds. I think this Jinbei is probably better, but, like, you definitely can use this guy. But, like, for the fact you need to get him to level limit break 5, I'm going to put him, like, down top end of Dookie. The Sweet Generals. I have been seeing people using the Sweet Generals in Slash's strength teams, mainly in Grand Party, and they have been doing absolute bits because they're powerhouse as well. So they work very, very well with Who's Who. So be very, very careful if you see that. I don't run it personally, but I have seen a lot of people destroy other people that just thought they were very, very confident. So just be very careful if you do see Sweet 3. As for Capone, an amazing defensive unit, I'm going to put him alongside Frankie Tanky. But look, nowadays, I would not level him up. Mihawk's a big no. Even Law nowadays is a no. So is Shanks. Blackbeard with his level limit break is so good at taking down Dex teams. Just like Corazon, however, he can find his way onto the regular Dex team regardless. I don't really prioritize him too much, but if you do see a quick team, you bet your ass his Blackbeard is going to absolutely tear through it. A lot of HP cutting shenanigans. You can put him, like, honestly, as a meta solid for Dex. Because of how much HP cutting he can do. Roger is a meta solid unit. I don't think Roger is on the meta god team, but for how good this guy is in Grand Party, I couldn't put him anything lower than meta solid. What can I say? Like, he has the best GP burst in the game. Whitebeard and Roger, in my opinion, were better last season, but this guy's still so good in Grand Party across the board. He has an amazing burst, a great GP leader. He's awesome on the side team. He's also on the Slasher team. He's a rainbow unit, so you can pop him anywhere you like. Not much else to say about Roger, but the fact that he's just very, very good. And if you have him, you can easily just put him on a PvP team. On to Sanjin Pudding. They're okay for, like, the Cerebral build. For some shenanigans in, like, attack down and whatnot. But look, nowadays, not overly amazing. This Zoro is a god nuker. Like, he's an absolute demon nuker. But nowadays, there's so many other nukers that, like, this guy actually just got completely replaced by Doflamingo. However, you still can use him if you are running sort of like a driven Dexy kind of build. Kaido, for me, honestly, Kaido kind of fell off, man. I don't know if I would say he's on the meta gods anymore for the quick driven team. I think he did get hard replaced by Shiki, especially at level limit break 5. But he's definitely an option to be put up here in this driven quick build. But for me, like Kaido, he just fell off, man. Like, he just absolutely fell off. But he's still very, very good. He's still like a one-man wrecking ball. And if you guys want to argue for me, he's a meta god, like, go for gold. But let me know in the comment section below if he actually falls in on that quick-driven team. And while you're down there, if you haven't done so already, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff for me. Helps me out a great deal. I'm going to leave him up there for now. As for Mihawk, he's a big no-no. Enel! Enel's funny, right? So Enel, being the first PvP legend, was just designed to absolutely decimate Roger and Odin. Roger and Odin first came out when the Slasher team was running around and was just decimating literally everything. And Enel was designed to stop that. Like, that was what he was built for. After that, he kind of fell off, like, so freaking hard. Then, This guy here got his level limit break and shit, and then he just went straight back to the top. These two together on a side team are like a must for me now. I have so much more success when I am running these two together. I was doing a lot of sort of Psy-free spirit builds, but then I just said, nah, like, screw this. I need these two together. They have to come. A lot of defense, Popsy special a lot. They just do absolute work together, like, absolute work. Nami can be used. She's a solid option, but, like, nowadays, like, for quick, it's just moved away from those classes. Magellan is still a great unit for quick. He's not a meta solid unit anymore, but he's definitely a great unit for that team. Blackbeard can be run on a driven team. However, he is colorless, so if you are doing like the driven in team, he's nowhere near some other Blackbeards, namely this one right here. Moria. Moria is a must. Moria is, next to Top Musica, the one int-driven character you have to bring on your int teams, your int powerhouse teams, and your int-driven teams. You must bring Moria. Like, he is like Luffy for that Dex team, but for int, you must bring Moria, dude. Like, you just have to. Like, there's no argument about it. If you're running int, you got to bring Moria. The half stats is so good. He has nice fixed damage. He's got a great passive. Absolute phenomenal character. As for Cracker, with his level limit break, he is a staple next to Kizaru for the slasher team. The two of them give so much CT cooldown, it's not even funny. Make sure to bring them. Flag Tank Pirates, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to put them alongside Frankie, Tanky, and Capone. They're just disgusting in terms of, like, their tanking capabilities. If you want to run some stupid defense team and put them on it, like, they can work on this shootery sort of build too. Bonnie's a big no-no. Honestly, Law, you can use him, but, like, he's trash. Like, he's trash. He was trash from day one. People still used him, but honestly, he was trash from day one. As for Luffy and Kid, Luffy is still a great unit to be run on the quick team. He's definitely not a meta solid unit anymore. Or a meta god, like, definitely not. But alongside Magellan, like, the two of them kind of fell off quite drastically. But you definitely can use them if you are running quick. As for Kid, though, Kid is a must bring. Kid, like I said, the striker sort of centricness that you can do with strength, as you guys can kind of see what's forming up here. And if you bring Kaido up there too, he's a must bring. Like, you have to bring Kid. He does so much damage. He goes through defense. He can basically board wipe the entire team. And he can just win matches for strength teams, which is whether you run him in the front lines or on the bench, like, he can just win matches. Ace Sabo, very similar to Ace Yamato, wherever I put them. I think I put Ace Yamato in... did I put them in Great Unit? Or did I put them... Where are they? They're probably in Solid Option. No, they're They're Great Unit. You could run either Ace Sabo or Ace Yamato on the Free Spirit team, and you can do really, really cool stuff. Free Spirit is one of the higher end teams. I'd probably put them in the top 10, and both of these characters work very, very well on Free Spirit. Same with this Rayleigh as well, actually. He works really, really well on that Free Spirit team as well. Hiyori is a really good defensive option for that int team. Like I was saying with, like, Perona and Pudding, like, you can use, like, these characters together for a lot of healing shenanigans and whatnot. There is, like, a Sengoku, free-to-play Sengoku that works well too. This Marco is another option as well. I don't really like Marco too much. He's good for attacking teams for the in team, but, like, honestly, nowadays Marco kind of sucks. As a sort of nuking option, you can use this Sanji, like this V1 Shanks, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it. Look, I would probably say this Marcos probably towards this back end here somewhere. Germa is a pretty great unit for Psy. Nowadays, I don't really run Germa too much, but, like, when they got their 6+, wait till they get their level limit break, actually. When they got their 6+, they were really, really good for side builds. I limit break expanded them, but even now, like, you just don't really rock them too much. King is just dookie. Like, he's not even as, like, a solid option for the quick driven the quick powerhouse team, because quick driven just took over so freaking fast. I mean, he's driven too, but, like, he's just not good. He does damage over time. However, Queen's really good. I don't know if I would say he's a meta god unit, but you definitely can put him on that Dex team as an option, depending on how you're building it. Because if you're bringing, like, something like Dofi in the front lines and you're running, like, Kid as well, you can easily bring Queen in. But Dex has so many powerful options. They don't really have a meta team, right? It depends on what they're versing. If you're versing, like, Quick, there's, like, a bunch of characters you bring. However, if you're versing anything else, you bring a whole bunch of other characters, right? So Queen's a very, very good option for the team, and Dex is just an abundance of very good units. As for Toki, she is a meta solid strength build. Like I said, if you run strength slashes, which you can with, like, these three characters here, Toki can find a way there very, very quick. Then you got Law, you got Kaku for slashes as well, and it all works out pretty hunky-dory. The Straw Hat Crew, they are a great unit for side teams. They're free spirit as well if you want to ever rock that build. Works quite nicely. Reiju is like another one of these cheeky units for a solid option for defensive. Like, these three together are just disgusting, especially if you bring this Perona into the mix. Like, these characters just get absolutely gross together. You have so much healing, and then you put Mori there for half stats and stuff, and you just do some really, really gross things. Vivi, honestly, Vivi sucks. Like, I tried using Vivi early, but, like, she kind of sucky. Kizaru is a meta solid unit. If you're versing a quick team, Kizaru can definitely find his way onto the team for you, like Dogstorm can. But on the staple team, I don't really use Kizaru anymore like I used to. Most of the time now, I'll actually bring Queen, just because of the 5,000 fixed damage. But Kizaru is definitely an option. Or you could even do Blackbeard with his HP cutting shenanigans. Lately, actually, I switched to Blackbeard over Queen, just for those like HP cutting, like absolute monstrosities. Yamato 6-star is an absolute demon as a meta solid unit for the int-based team. I don't rock her on this int-driven team. Like, I don't rock her at all. But you definitely can, like Doflamingo. But I'll explain why I don't rock her up here in this team. You definitely can, though. Like, it's definitely an option for you guys. As for Sai Yamato, she is a must-bring for the Sai team. She's so freaking good. Halving stats is, like, the most powerful ability in Rumble. If you can halve stats, you want to friggin' halve stats. Page 1 ulti, they're pretty much the same as this Blackbeard character for driven and powerhouse builds. But this Jack, bruh, this Jack is a god. Meta god for sure. As you can see up the top here, I'm kind of rocking a whole bunch of strength striker characters. And for me, like I said, I bring up this Kaido, and that's my front, that's my front line right there with the Sandersonia on the bench. Yes, I'm rocking a whole bunch of legends. Well, actually, yeah, like Sandersonia on the bench or Kid off the bench, like something like that. Yes, I'm rocking a whole bunch of legends, but the striker sort of synergy works so freaking well. But yeah, as for Jack, he's a striker. He gives defense. He does HP cutting. Great passive. When he gets to level limit break 2, he's going to be an absolute demon. As for Koala, she's stinky. Pudding, we got another pudding. Oh, that's because this is 6-star pudding. That was 6-star pudding. This is 6+ pudding. We need to put 6+ pudding. I should really go through and remove them. Dofi can be used on Driven. I have been wiped by Dofi, and he's, like, ignoring defense, so be careful of that. Katakuri was never really used, even on the quick powerhouse build. As I mentioned, like King, he just never found a way to actually fall onto that team. There's just so many better options. Like, if you aren't running, like, if you're trying to run quick powerhouse, like, these guys don't really build, boost powerhouse, you just run these two characters up here, like that's the bottom line. You don't even really need them. If you want to argue to me that they go in solid options, then sure, like, I'll put them in solid options. But, like, I just don't even think, I just don't see it. But, look, we'll leave them there for now. Crocodile, Big Neg, and same with Nami and Usopp. As for Brook is actually, like, a great unit. I don't think he's a meta solid, because, like, the only time I really use him is for defense and in, like, Grand Party on a Roger build for, like, some, like, cheeky wall strats. But you can't deny what the man can do. He's a very, very good unit. As for Whitebeard and Roger are probably one of the best, if not the best, Pirate Rumble character in the entire game. Whitebeard and Roger can literally just kill 2 units off the bat. They have an amazing GP set, like disgustingly good GP set. They boost Int and Psy, which are 2 of the best Rumble teams in the game. And then they do Strikers. And if you have a look up here in Strikers, you've got some disgusting options. You've got Yamatos, you've got Kuzan, you've got Enel. And then there's some other characters we'll talk about later, like Smoker and whatnot. But Whitebeard and Roger on a slasher team is a must. And honestly, you can just slide them onto a Dex team, and they do some absolute bits too. Fantastic character. In my opinion, the best PvP character in the entire game. Straw Hat Crew, probably not that far behind them, to be honest. I'm going to put them in, like, meta solid for what they do on the Free Spirit team. They're honestly one of the best PvP units in the game. The problem is they boost. The way that they boost, it's so janky, because they boost Free Spirit, and then Free Spirit has a lot of dual units, but then they boost Strength and Dex, which they don't have a lot of options. And if you're running a Dex team, you're pretty much running this guy, so that's where they kind of struggle. Having all the Straw Hats in the name too does let them down in Rumble, where this guy obviously doesn't have to worry about too much. Only has to worry about Whitebeard and Roger, which doesn't have too many characters, obviously, but they're an amazing unit. Honestly, one of the best PvP characters in the entire game. If you are running a Free Spirit team, you definitely want to bring them. However, if you don't have them, just don't run Free Spirit. Like, that's the bottom line. I'll put them up here in Meta Gods for anyone that wants to run Free Spirit. But Free Spirit, for me, they have fallen out of the top 5. And, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due for what this unit can do. Their haste ability is disgusting. Their revive is gross. Like, they're a fantastic PvP character. Moving down to Bond Clay, he does absolutely nothing. This Carrot Wanda is another meta solid unit for the Slasher team. I think you can easily put them on this team as a defensive option like Doflamingo, but like I don't tend to. But this Dofi is an absolute beast. This guy is the best wave clearer in the entire game. Well, not wave clearer, like board wiper in the entire game, I should say. Off the bench, as soon as I saw what this guy did, I was like, holy shit, this guy's a monster. And then I just watched him tear through teams like no tomorrow because no one had no idea what the fuck he was doing. He's an absolute beast. On a Dex team, you want to put him in the back. If you want to run some sort of cheeky driven build, you can easily rock him alongside Kid and Blackbeard. And then you can just bring in something like Queen into the front lines here and then bring off Cat Viper. And you can just do some crazy driven shenanigans. Again, Luffy must be there. But for me, Dofi is mainly my first line bench unit. He comes in towards the back end of the game and then hits like 4 times, and his radius is massive, his damage is massive, he's an absolute beast, and honestly, he's one of the best Rumble characters in the entire game. It's not even a question about it. The problem with him is you just can't put him on any team, which kind of lets him down a little bit. As for V2 Odin, he's a must on a side team. Another character for the category of best Rumble character in the entire game. Free Spirit teams are, like, he's a must on those teams. And this core right here with Rebecca Toy Soldier right in that middle does absolute work. And Odin is just, he's a fiend on that team. So much damage. K-Dad is a very good option for that Free Spirit team that we were talking about earlier. This one here. A very, very good shout for it. But like I said, Free Spirit, they're kind of in the top sort of 6 now. So that's kind of where it's at. Like, honestly, I probably argue, like, I'll probably put them up here, to be honest, the back end at Meta Solids. Because if you do have the Strider crew, you can do some really, really cool stuff with Free Spirits. Moving into Garp, he goes on the fighter team, but he's not, like, the staple option for the fighter team. You definitely can do some, like, cool stuff with fighter and Dex units, but he's not the be-all or end-all. Kaido's he's just a great unit. The Revive carries Kaido so hard, and Driven Int carries Kaido exceptionally. But for me, he just doesn't find a way onto that team. I would definitely not use him over Yamato. I probably wouldn't even use him over Dofi, if I'm completely honest. But his Revive makes him very, very nice. His 50% HP card at the back end of the fights can be quite clutch. Kuma is a great unit for strength. I don't love Kuma. I love his buff. I just think his passive needed a little bit more. I have just other like strength builds that I like to use more, mainly like the strength fighter build, strength fighter powerhouse, strength slashes, or just the strength striker builds. He really doesn't fit on any of them, unfortunately. But shout out to my boy Snuffy, he loves him. What can I say? Kuma is Kuma. As for Marco is a great unit for the powerhouse fighter team. He works really, really well with this Jinbei. Over this Jinbei. And he's definitely a character that I would highly recommend putting on your powerhouse fighter teams if you are going to utilize an attacking variation. Alright, so moving on to Int Kid now. Int Kid is a staple for my Int-driven team. He does so much damage, he's an amazing character, very, very good in Pirate Rumble. Alongside these other Int-driven characters, he's a must-use, especially when you, like, when you get his special off, he does so much freaking damage when you have the half stats of something like Moria. So make sure to bring Kid, make sure to max him out, he's a very, very good unit, if you guys have him. As for Lore, though, he's on that sort of quick cerebrally build we spoke about. You can do some really cool stuff with him, but like he's not like a great unit for that team. He's just kind of like a more fun unit for that team, kind of like what Hina can be. But he's a staple if you are running quick cerebral, just not quick because he does boost cerebral. As for Sengoku, he is a solid option for the fighter team. But, like, I wouldn't really be using him too much. Verse Shanks can be used on the side team, but not really too much anymore. This Olin is definitely a solid, a meta option if you are versing Psy teams. She's very, very good at nerfing Psy alongside your Rogue. They're basically just Psy killers, which works very, very nicely if you use something like Om or Conus as well. As for fighters, if you are rocking fighters, you want to bring, you really want to bring Ulti. Ulti's so freaking good for the fighter team. the fighter powerhouse team mainly, like I was saying earlier. She's just a must bring. She has an amazing passive, amazing special, like a freaking amazing special. And if you do have ulti, max out her rumble, because it's definitely something that you guys are going to want to use. As for Lucci, he's very good, but he's not exactly in the meta god situation. But as I mentioned, you can do some really cool stuff with Dex fighters. Lucci's a really good attacking option for Dex teams. He's like a very good option if you aren't versing something like Quick, and you can really bring him into the front lines there. Probably replace something like Kid if you are looking for a bit more attacking prowess. However, like, for me, like, this core lineup is like my go-to. And then you have a lot of very good options for your PvP characters. Well, actually, no, this guy was meant to be... I was meant to bring him back down here. This is your core lineup, and then you have a lot of very good PvP characters to sort of make out the rest of your actual team. Next, we've got Yamato. Again, she's just like... She's very solid in the meta. Mainly when Quick is taking down Dex. Dex is taking down Quick. Because if you rock this sort of lineup... and then you bring these two as well, you have so many options here. So if you're missing Kizaru, you can bring Yamato. If you're missing, like, don't want to bother with Blackbeard and you already have these two characters, you can max them out. The cat-dog combination works so freaking well. You don't even have to bring Dogstorm at this point, right? You can just run these three and run the rare recruit Dogstorm on the bench, and then bring these two. Luffy, like I said, Luffy has to come no matter what, and you can just do some absolutely monstrous things when you are versing Quick. Next, we've got this verse Whitebeard. He's okay. Like, he's dropped off significantly like verse Shanks has. Yamato, she shouldn't be there because we have her twice. Zoro, Sanji, they're dookie. Don't worry about them. And now we have the PvP rare recruits. Now, I included all of the PvP rare recruits here. And one particular rare recruit that I do think is very valuable because Int Driven is very good. Now, let's quickly blitz through this because this video has gone for a while. But like I said, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below if you guys have been agreeing. As for Otama, she is pretty good. She is a great unit for the fighter team, for the free spirit team as well. She's not like a meta solid, but she can do some pretty cool stuff. As for Jozu is like he's just outside meta solids for me. I don't know if I would put him on that sort of, like, on this sort of int sort of build, but you definitely can do some really cool stuff with him. He's a powerhouse fighter as well. However, he does boost int characters, so just be mindful of that. As for Cat Viper, he is just a solid option, mainly because, like, Cerebral isn't that great. But if you were going to run Cerebral, you definitely want to put him on that team, because, like, he's your only real PvP rare recruit. But he's quick as well, which means you can do some options there. You can also go on striker teams too, so that's actually something to note. This Enel. Now, this Enel is a great unit. I'm going to put him in great unit because, like, as long as you have I think it's 5 or less, or 6 or less characters, he does a lot of damage off the bench, and he is an int-driven character, so very powerful unit in that rare recruit. Sanji, he's a solid option. I was using Sanji quite a bit just because he gives a lot of cooldowns. He's a powerhouse fighter unit, and obviously, like, strength powerhouse fighter is a very prominent, like, combination with stuff like Who's Who, Page 1, Ulti, King, so, like, Sanji is definitely an option for you there. As for Stussy, Stussy's just dookie. Like, I never use Stussy. As for, like, board wiping, this Wipebeard is still good for the quick team. You definitely can use him as sort of like a bench option, as like a meta bench option for your quick teams. So I would probably say he deserves to be up here in meta solids. As for, remember, all these characters have 20 costs, so, like, that makes them very good. As for Colgara Nolan, I never use Colgara Nolan, like, so don't worry about them. Conus, I have been using in Grand Party. She can be a great unit for when you are fighting Psy units, but she's basically just a solid option. If you can slide her in, like, if you have, like, the cost ready, you can, but otherwise just other nukers will be better options. Kaku is very good. I'm going to put him up here in meta solids. I don't know if I would put him in meta gods, because he does, he's a slasher character, so he works alongside Toki and Odin and K-Dad very nicely. And then if you have, like, Lore as well, you can do some really cool stuff, but he's basically designed to just nerf Dex. The downside is strength just doesn't touch Dex at the moment. It's just absolutely wonky as hell. This Frankie is pretty dookie. You're never really going to need him. Same with this Oars. He's pretty dookie as well. Lore, though, is basically meta god material. You basically want to bring him whether you're rocking him on this team up here, the strength team, to sort of just, like, glue everything together. Or if you're kind of rocking him on something like a slasher team, down here, whether that's the strength slash team or just the regular slash team. He's very, very good. He boosts strength, he boosts slashes. He's an amazing character. Tontanas, they absolutely suck. Sober Mask is a very, very good nuking option for Dex teams. He's a powerhouse fighter character, which works exceptionally well. Nowadays, though, he's kind of dropped off quite a lot because Dex has just so many better options. As you guys can see here, like, Dex is just flourishing with absolute disgusting units. However, I do actually use Sober Mask still as my nuking bench option for Dex because he's a 20 cost. That's the big reason why these characters are so valuable, because they're a 20 cost character. Cavendish is a solid option. Again, if you want to rock something like Dex driven, like these guys here, you can use Cavendish in the front lines. I was doing it for like kids Super Evolution when Dofi first came out. I thought it was very, very powerful. So he is a solid option. Moving on to Rebecca Toy Soldier. They are a must bring on the Psy team. They're so good at nerfing slashes, but their passive is so broken for Psy that you must bring them. Like, they're a must bring. This here is just your Psy team. Like, this is the Psy team I run. And then the bench is just like a bunch of nuking options. Stuff like the Giants and whatnot. But this team right here, it does absolute bits. Moving on to Shiryu. He is a meta solid for the quick team. Mainly the quick-driven team as well. He's another really good option to slide in on that team. I think Shiki probably needs to come up here, to be honest, because that quick-driven team is just so freaking powerful. But Shiryu, he's another really good option for that. You can use him off the bench, but he's better in the front lines. Smoker is the best bench unit in the entire game. He goes on this inch-driven team so freaking nicely as your first line of defense in terms of, like, sort of just coming in and absolutely decimating the field. His special bind is so annoying. He does a lot of damage. He's, like, if you have an empty slot and you're like, what else do I bring? And I've got 20 cost, you just bring Smoker. Like, that's the bottom line. He's the best PvP rare recruit in the entire game for your nuking capabilities. As for Cracker, honestly, Cracker, he's a solid option for strength. But not one that you're going to really use. Same with Arlong. The two of them are just, like, basically the same unit. Smoothie, she's okay. She's a great unit off the bench for Psy teams, which works quite nicely. Moria is another one of these, like, meta-solid units. With him and Kizaru, you can just basically destroy quick. As you can see, like, Dex has so many good units. Like, they're just flourishing with so many powerful characters that Moria is just another one of those PvP rare recruits that just works so freaking well. Scopper is... he's a great unit. He will work quite well for bench options for Psy. Not, like, super, super valuable, but he is a great unit for, like, bench work. Strusen is a meta solid. You can bring him in the front line. He's a great option if you don't have Rebecca Toy Soldier. So if you guys don't have that, you can use him. So Kobe now. I've never really used Kobe that much or at all, really, so I don't know too much what he does. I know he does like 100% cooldowns, but like he's just not a character that you're going to rock. As for Om is a great unit for nerfing Psy builds. So like up here with the meta solids, like these two characters, if you bring Om as a bench unit, he works quite well. I use him in Grand Party quite a lot as well. If I know I'm versing a Psy team, it's curtains at that point. The Groggy Monsters are a meta solid unit. You can easily bring them as a nuking option up here on this particular team alongside Whitebeard. These two characters work exceptionally well as nuking capabilities for your bench, and then Shiryu as well. If you are running quick and you have them, like max them out because they work very, very well off the bench. Dalton is probably one of the best PvP characters in the entire game. Him and Pell, you guys know how amazing they actually are. They do absolute monstrous work. Dalton on this team, I actually rock usually off the bench because, actually no, I rock him in the front lines alongside Pell. Like, this is kind of like my starting line with Pell. It works really, really well. Dalton does so much damage. He's got crit up, he's got defense up, guard. Like, I think, actually, no, Pell does guard as well, right? But the two of them together, like these two guys, they make Dex what it is in terms of their front line. And without the two of them, Dex is nowhere near as powerful as it actually is. Even though it has all these really good options down here, Dex, these two shine in, and Luffy, they shine in amongst all of it so freaking heavily. Dofi obviously being like that sort of like clean up the scraps guy. But these two, like, they shine so well. Moving down now to Sandersonia. Sandersonia is a really good unit. I'm going to put her in meta solids because if you are rocking her off the bench, you can easily partner up with this particular unit right here. Honestly, I'm going to bring her up here into meta solids, but like I said, she works amazing off the bench. So if you do manage to pull her, you can put her on other teams as well, just like you can with like Whitebeard and the Monsters and Dalton and Pell, Sobermask. But she mainly works alongside this particular unit right here, and this Boa too, if you really want to get technical with me. This one right here. Moving on to the Giants. The Giants are fantastic. Both the Giants are so good. I think that if you did have to pick one, Broly or Brogy is better of the two, and then Dory is very good with his special binds. But when you're running int driven, if you're running something like this as your front line, you can bring obviously Smoker into the front line too as well, and then these two off the bench. When you start losing units, it's not detrimental to int because you have these two freaking monsters coming in after it. They work so well at nerfing Sai as well. They're just absolute powerhouses. They're both powerhouse slashes as well, so the powerhouse team gets a nice buff from them as well. You can use them alongside this Big Mom for some nice buffs as well. Next we've got Corazon. Corazon, I actually recently pulled Corazon. He is a solid option for the Cerebral quick team alongside this particular lore. However, he's not like the be-all or end-all. This Frankie though is actually a pretty great unit, mainly for defensive quick teams. But he's definitely a great option if you did want to max him out. I wouldn't really waste too many materials on him though, because like defensive teams you just sort of have better options. But you definitely can. This Senor Pink sucks. Don't worry about him. Same with this Usopp. He came out at the same time as Sop. I don't know what they were thinking, but he's just absolutely dog water. This Fuji is probably one of the best PvP rare recruits in the entire game. He is a staple on this int team, and he is my final piece of the puzzle for this int driven team. However, he's also the final piece of the puzzle to this quick driven team that sort of sits up the top here as well. So very, very, very good PvP rare recruit. Gives guard, gives defense up, has an amazing passive. Very, very good for driven teams. So if you're running driven, you really want to make sure you bring Fuji on the team no matter what. As for Kizaru, he's kind of whatever. I recently pulled Kizaru too. I haven't had a chance to really use him. But from what I've seen, he's really not that amazing. It really doesn't do anything at all. Donjin Jiao, I do really like. Another really, really good quick unit for the bench. He does some very good special binding, and he does a bit of damage over time as well, and rolls back specials. He's a very, very annoying unit to come up against. So, like, just be very, very careful when you are sort of versing Donjin Jiao. But he's sort of not. He's not like crazy or anything like that. But if you pull him, like, be happy because he's quite a good bench option. As for Kanjuro, Kanjuro is definitely a unit that you want to bring on your quick-driven team. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure if Shiki or Kaido is the way to go with this front line, but basically this is what your front line will look like here. Whether it's Shiki or Kaido, you want to have Tesoro, Akainu, Kanjuro, and then you'll either have Shiki or Kaido floating as your quick unit with Fuji in that middle slot. Off the bench, then, you're just going to be rocking, obviously, these two guys here. You can easily rock these two. You can even chuck Smoker in the line as well because you're rocking a full driven build. So you can do some really, really cool stuff there. For me, I usually rock this as just my bench. Like, this bench right here, the two Giants and Smoker, works so exceptionally well that I'm actually going to bring these two units back down. Because if you are running this team up here, and I'm going to bring you back down because I really think Shiki's the way to go. If you're running this team right here, like this bench just works so well as that final 3 slots. It's just actually gross. Mainly Smoker just coming in and getting all these driven buffs, which works so freaking nicely. Finally, we have King. For me, I'm going to put King as a meta god. I haven't had a chance to really use him too much. I did pull him. The summons will just be kind of in like an Abyss sort of video later down the line. So make sure to hit the bell notification so you guys don't miss that one. Or hit the membership. Become a member because that stuff gets released early for you guys. The King is basically a 20 cost kid. He's a demon. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, he is just an absolute demon in the sense that he does so much damage with his special. However, he's kind of like a high reward. My Sim put it best. It was like not high risk, high reward, but like high gains, low gain sort of thing. In the sense that if you don't get his special off, he's kind of whatever because his passive isn't super great. But in the last 50 seconds, he gives himself a lot of special cooldown, and he can just absolutely decimate the opposition teams. But I'm really keen to see what he can do moving forward with some new rules and stuff like that as being the new PvP rare recruit. But that's going to wrap up the tier list. As you guys can see here, this is pretty much the strength build that I like to rock, obviously, alongside with Kaido. Kaido is very hard to build for, though, so, like, that's why I don't really want to put him up there. But if you put, like, Toki there, or if you put, like, Odin there, you can do some really cool stuff. Obviously, strength slashes are very, very good as well, but that is the strength team. For me, I honestly think the strength team is, like, out of the top 5, and the slashes kind of make their way in there. This sort of the slasher team right there. Int driven, very, very powerful. This side team, very, very good. Dex, what can we say about Dex? It's like the best color team in the game because of their options they have. And then this quick driven team is very, very good. As for the best teams in the game, I do think this Int driven team down here is the best team in the game. Especially when you start like rocking Fuji in there as well. Next, I do think it's the Dex team. Then I think it's the quick driven, followed by the Psy team, then followed by the Slasher team. If the Slasher team pops off, the Slasher team can easily make their way up here somewhere in the top 3, but they're very RNG reliant. Strike Crew, what can we say about Strike Crew? They're one of the best PvP characters in the entire game, and honestly, King's probably your best nuker, so that's what puts him up here. As for strength, that's the strength team there. But like I said, I don't really use strength too much. So let me know in the comment section below if you guys have any other ideas about strength. The rest of the tier list looks a little bit like this. The meta solids are pretty much the characters you want to sort of focus on if you ever want to build out some more of these teams. However, the rest of these particular teams, or the rest of these characters down here, like Solid Option and Great Unit, I probably wouldn't worry about too much. And obviously, Dookie, like, don't worry about these characters at all. I will leave a link in the description for you guys for this tier list. So if you guys want to make your own tier list, or if you guys want to check it out, make sure to click the link down below. While you're down there, don't forget to belt the like button for me if you're new to the channel. Hit that big red subscribe button. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Let's...